everyone. This is Sherry Simmons.
And I'm Jan Simmons.
We are a mother-daughter duo who speak across the country, wrote a book called Which Way. We speak on trauma, resiliency. We do coaching, and we thought it was a good time in the world to have a summit. The title of this summit is Surviving and Thriving During a World Crisis. And we have some of the best experts in the field of mental health and resiliency on this week. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Huey. Aaron is a world-renowned speaker. He's a parenting coach. He's co-founder of Fire Mountain Residential Treatment Center. He's been working with children, teens, and families for over 18 years. My God, you're old. Over 18 years. Aaron, it's such a pleasure. I've learned a lot from you over the years. And I know you've helped a lot of families over the years. So thank you for being here.
Well, thanks, Sherry. I wish I could say the same about what I've learned from you, because I've learned absolutely nothing in all those parenting seminars we teach together. So thank you so much. I really am happy to be on here with you guys, and love what you guys are doing and what you're offering to people who are really going through the overused word, the unprecedented time that we're all in right now and don't know when it's going to end and don't know what's going to happen. So I'm happy to be here and happy to support.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this on some of the other shows that we've had. It's almost like, you know, we entered into this back in March thinking there was going to be an end date and then we'd go back to our normal lives. And we have found out that that is simply not the case. The world as we knew it will not be the same. And so we've got to adapt. We've got to be flexible. We've got to change, kind of go with the flow. We want to speak to you specifically today, though, about what parents are experiencing right now. Because I know I've heard from a lot of them, so have you, about, you know, I'm losing my freaking mind over here with kids at home and unable to explain some of what's going on in the world.
So Aaron, what are you seeing both in parents and youth right now as the pressures and the stress and the tensions are on the rise in the world?
I think the biggest thing that's taking place is that everybody, parents, youth, politicians, everybody in the world, as you said, Jan, has lost their concept of safety. The paradigm that we've all operated under, whether or not we've been struggling with other things, has suddenly changed. And no one has the same world. Everybody has had to recognize that the things that we set up.
Aaron, it's not working.
We could feel,
It's not working.
Oh God, now they're back in my headphones. Tell them I'll turn mine off.
We can't hear you.
Tell them I'll go for a run.
Did you turn that?
Yeah.
No, they're still connecting. Well, this doesn't. All right, now you're back on. It went into Chris's headphones again. She turned it on and it stole.
Chris, I'm going to kick your butt.
I'm gonna go.
Well, you know, hang on a second, Chris, because you know what else is happening, Sherry? Every time I say your name, Siri kicks on the, anytime Jan says your name, Siri kicks on the iPad. And it's like, what can I help you with? And it totally cuts off Zoom. So it's like, okay.
Oh, geez.
So what are we working with here? I've got no cell phone coverage, and if I could switch to cell phone, that might change it. Chris is going to go for a little run.
Sorry,
unless
Chris.
Yeah, I'll hook up my own headphones here. I'll wait till I get far away.
She actually got a pair of sound dampening headphones so that she could be in the trailer when I talked. Like, this cuts out ambient sound, but it keeps So no matter where she goes, she has to listen to me talk.
That is enough to make anybody want to slit their wrists. So God bless her.
All right,
Um,
she's gone.
Holy cow! You want to try it one more time and just?
Yeah, we can take 3, no problem.
Okay, and if that doesn't work, I don't know what we'll do. We'll just
Reschedule it or something.
reschedule it. Yeah. Okay.
It's going to work this time. You want me to start with the question or
Start with the
just
question.
start with him? Okay.
Because I didn't get anything that he said. So.
Okay. So, Aaron, I'm curious with the stresses and the tensions and everything that's mounting in the world right now. What would you say to both parents and teens?
Is the first thing I'm going to say is what you're going through in a time of crisis, the stress, the tensions, the uncertainty that everybody's got. It makes sense that you're going to feel completely thrown sideways. Your concept of safety has either been removed or changed at such a level that your whole body has to change. What we thought was going to happen in this world this year with going grocery shopping, with our jobs, with school for the children, things we could depend upon on a daily basis stopped. And that leaves you with what? Everybody has had to pivot physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially. Things that we could count on went away. So the chaos, the uncertainty, the sensitivity, the frustration, the short fuse. Of course you feel that way. And of course your kids do, because what the politicians are saying and what Facebook is saying and what Instagram is saying and what 9gag and the memes and everywhere where parents and kids are, the influence, the primary influence of life and safety has shifted. So you have to shift. You can't hold on to things that don't exist and don't work anymore. And we still are trying to figure out what those things are. So it's not just externalized chaos. Everybody's feeling it on the inside too. The trickle-down effect of uncertainty is wreaking havoc on everybody. Everybody.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I mean, what we know is anytime as human beings that we feel unsafe, we go to our limbic brains and operate from a place of fight, flight, freeze. How do you work with parents to parent from an emotionally regulated place when they don't necessarily feel emotionally regulated?
It's such a great question, because the first thing we have to do is acknowledge the fact that we're not regulated. And that is to some people admitting failure. That's to some people admitting that they're not in control. That's to some people just admitting that they're not regulated. And that means you've got to take a good, long, hard look in the mirror and say, I'm not doing well. I'm struggling. I need help. I need some support. And support can look like a number of things, but let's talk about also the 5 things that we've got to analyze where we need support. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. Those are the 5 energies that if one of those goes off, it tugs on the other ones. So we have to say, where am I struggling? Oh, I lost my job because of this crisis, or I'm struggling financially. But that maybe your relationship spiritually with the universe, with God, with whatever, you still feel strong, but now you're even questioning that because the things that you had put in place, and emotionally, this is any one of those energies that's struggling and feels unbalanced is going to tug on the rest. So that's the first thing. Acknowledge that you are struggling. And then really sit down and say, okay, where am I struggling? And write it down. Write down a list of the problems. The moment you do, you're now moving out of the struggle. You're starting to take a back seat to it. You're starting to kind of look at it in the third person rather than just experiencing the struggle and not knowing how to regulate. Of course you're unregulated. Of course you're not eating, sleeping, breathing well. Of course you're not taking care of yourself. Safety's been removed. So getting back the acknowledgement that you're struggling automatically puts you back into your game of getting the other things back on track. And then it's a question or a matter of, what am I going to do to get things back on track? That's where therapy or having a coach or just talking with your friends or taking the dog for a walk for the 7th time in the day. I understand. And I've watched that funny meme with the dogs like, I'd like to take a nap now, but the people are outside with the dog yet again walking because they're trying to keep their systems regulated. And that's a good thing. And I'm sure the dog actually loves it.
I'm glad that you talked about just being open and honest and transparent about it. What do you say to parents though that shoot back with, if I talk about my fear, if I talk about their fear, if we open up this whole big topic of racial inequality, isn't it just going to make things worse if we open up this can of worms as a family?
You know, we like to say when we're working with kids and adults in recovery, whether it's mental health recovery or addiction recovery, that you're only as sick as your secrets. Like everything you're holding in, everything you're holding on to is extra weight that you're carrying. Loosening, lightening the load that you are carrying around on a day-to-day basis. You know, when you and I teach these parent weekends, you do this amazing exercise with sticky notes. You know, where you say, when you get up in the morning, do you hit snooze 3 times? And does that make life more stressful? You put it, what's the first thing you do? Oh, I check my emails, put another sticky note on. Are the kids late getting up and getting to school and you have to do extra work? Another sticky note. How is your relationship with coworkers? Another sticky note. You know, the things that stress us out, if every single one of those things represented a sticky note, by the end of the day, you're covered in yellow sticky notes. And then we ask the parents, what do you do to actually get rid of some of these sticky notes? And they might do a couple things, but they go to bed with sticky notes on, and the next morning, they just add more. So there's not a fair value exchange of stress you're taking on and ways that you are depleting these energetic, stressful experiences, that you're getting rid of things. You have to balance that out. That's physics. So you can argue with me as a parent coach, or you can argue with me as someone who teaches this stuff about, you know, I can't share. And I'm just going to say, your life is the sum total of your experience right now. And if you're struggling eating, sleeping, paying bills, then you're struggling. And the struggle is based on what you carry with you every day. What are you doing to drop the things that cause you stress? And if you don't have an active plan, then you're just going to carry it, and it will add up, and pretty soon you'll collapse under its weight. So if you think that sharing this stuff is going to make your life worse, you're wrong. That's it. You're wrong.
I like that. I had a parent call me the other day and say, I am dreading having the conversation that I know I need to have with my kid. I need to be honest and open about, hey, look, I'm struggling. I'm stressed. My anxiety is through the roof. Because she said, I don't want to have to face another slamming the door, us both yelling at each other kind of explosion in this household. So what do you say to parents about conversation openers and getting the dialogue going?
Yeah, you know, exactly what that parent said to you is what the parent should be saying out loud in the kid's presence. I'm struggling right now, and I'm not looking forward to having this difficult conversation that's going to end in slamming doors and us yelling at each other. And I don't know how not to do that because I'm really struggling. And I know you're struggling with things too. And we're both struggling. And while that should bring us together, it's looking like it's driving us apart. So before we have the conversation, I just need you to know that I'm really afraid to be honest with you. I'm sure the same way that you're afraid to be honest with me. That's how you start. If we expect our children to be able to talk about their feelings and talk about what they're going through and tell us about their day and what did you do in math and what did you do in that, and why do you think your teacher thinks that, and how come you didn't do your homework, then be willing to talk like that to your child about how was your day and what did your boss think and how come you didn't finish that project on time. And we expect more from children than we expect of ourselves. And a lot of parents don't want to agree with that, but the kids are going to do what we model. So if you're not going to model openness and honesty, transparency, and vulnerability, expect your child to hide that as well, because that's all you've shown them how to do. So you're in it with them, or you're living some false life expecting them to be the honest ones so it reflects well on you, and that never works. And I know that's harsh. I know it's harsh to say that, but I've been working with families and parents now for 20 years. This is what's happening. It happened with me and my kids. It's what's going on. You want it from your kid, model it, show them how, cut the weeds so that they know the way. That's how we do it. That's how you teach.
Everybody kind of sees the elephant. You might as well talk about it. Everybody sees it, so you might as well talk about it. So what about parents that are seeing defiant behavior in their child, and they don't know how to set boundaries in this chaos? How would you help them? What would you suggest for them about creating boundaries?
Yeah, boundaries and chaos. Right, just that idea, just that sentence, boundaries and chaos.
Yeah.
Chaos has no boundaries. Life has no boundaries. Right now, people feel like the government is imposing all these rules for good or for ill. That's the argument that we're struggling with internally, so we're struggling with it externally. Boundaries during chaos begin with self-care and self-expectations. Boundaries is something we model. If you're going to expect your children to be able to talk about what's going on and follow the boundaries, then you do so as well. Don't you dare sit down and binge watch 3 hours on Netflix or some streaming network while you're drinking 4 glasses of wine, but expecting your children to model some sort of adult, grown-up, well-regulated, emotionally intelligent behavior. Boundaries begin within. They don't start with your children not doing what you don't want them to do. If you're not expecting your children to be defiant in a time of chaos, then your expectations have to change. They're going to be defiant. This is fear-based parenting. When we step into it saying, okay, this is going to be a frustration, this is going to be tough, we're going to be screaming, I don't even want to, why can't my kid even, why can't they understand that I'm struggling too? It's because they're a child. So it's not a fun answer. And every parent wants the magic tool that just makes the kid go, you know what? I'll follow all the rules, Mom and Dad. I will do, oh my gosh, you were right. That is so logical. And I need to just stop struggling. No child is going to do that. The child will follow the parent's modeling. Set boundaries with yourself. Set boundaries for the household and follow them. Set boundaries for your own self-care. Yeah, it's got to start within if you want the without to work.
Yeah, I like that you said set it and follow it, because I think right now a lot of what's going on with parents is their kids coming back to them and saying, what, you're the only parent that's doing this. Everybody else gets to go to the lake and hang out. And why are you imprisoning me? I've already been quarantined, blah, 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 blah. And parents start to cave because they're wearing down as well. They're exhausted. So what do you say about that? Because I think that is a huge one right now with parents. I heard my neighbors arguing about it the other day. Mom, they're all waiting for me downstairs. You can't go. That's stupid.
You know, I feel a sense of pride now that my children are in their mid-20s and living life based on the value system that my wife and I set up all those years ago. And I can see where being that parent has paid out. That's a long game. And parents are, media, life has gotten us focused on the short game, the quick fix, the fast payoff. We can't do that with children. The long game was being the parent who would not tolerate drugs being used in my house, sending my children's friends home if they showed up drunk or high, waiting as long as we did before they got smartphones, having family dinners and insisting that phones and TVs were off during it, to the point where I wish I had done it better. but how much we exercised and took our kids exercising and watching them express the desire for exercising, watching my son realizing when going out and skateboarding is more important than getting to the next level on the video game. And my mid-20 son loves his video games, but he will still say to us, yeah, I had to go skateboard and it felt really good and I really remembered and blah, blah, blah. And watching him decide where he's going to live next, because it gives him proximity to being outside and being on his skateboard, not just being inside with his friends. The long game means that I'm going to let my child be dissatisfied with me in the short term, because the values that I'm establishing will last. If we are going to crumble and crack under a slight bit of pressure from our children's pushback when we say, no, you can't go outside right now, this family is going to stay inside during this. It's tough, it's rough, and it's hard on us all, but we are willing to do the hard thing. Well, I'm not, this sucks, this is BS, blah, blah, blah. I know. I agree. I haven't seen my friends. I'm struggling to pay the rent, and I don't know how next month's going to go either. So we're sitting in and we're sitting this one out. And they stomp, 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 and slam. And yes, that's uncomfortable. What is it about our generation, our Gen X generation, that has been unwilling to live with discomfort? We were latchkey kids at times. We were uncomfortable. We made it work. Let these younger generations experience discomfort and the success that comes with delayed gratification. That's the long game. And that's what's making this so hard. If we crack and crumble on our boundaries, our children will too. And boundaries keep us safe. Boundaries are things we want children to learn so that they can keep their body safe, their mind safe, their heart safe, their spirituality safe, and their finances safe. That's what's at stake here. So yeah, sell it out if you need to under a little bit of pressure and pushback, but you're cashing in on a long game. You're cashing in on compounded interest in a value system, not just financially.
Yeah.
As you talk here, I kind of, I'm hearing you say that we need to give these kids more credit than we're giving to them. What would you say about the children growing up in the world today? In what's going on?
I mean, it's hard enough for adults to keep our lives together. I had a lot of really choice, colorful words right there. It has taken everything, and it's easy to fall into the trap of the arguments with people who are never going to agree with you. It's easy to, with the racial tensions that are going on, with the political tensions that are going on, with the mental and physical tensions, with the health issues that are going on, with the question of, is this real? What did we deserve this? Is this a plague from God? Or are we just being stupid? Is it all made up? What is going on here? We are adults going through this. Imagine being a child.
Exactly.
Brain is not even developed going through this. Friends, drive-by birthday parties.
I know.
What is? I mean, this is what's Thanksgiving like. What's going to happen to all these traditions and things that masks, not hugging? What we're going to have from this are children who recognize the importance of human connection. Yeah. And what I believe we have at stake is a generation of children who are going to take unity seriously. They're going to take their jobs very, very seriously. There's going to be a lot of things that develop through the fear of losing things. That will be healthy and unhealthy, and we're going to have to look at this. But we're going to have children who are going to be a little bit more wary of getting sick, a little bit more health conscious, and I hope a lot, less self-absorbed on our own opinion process, that we can actually see what's going on in the world and start to listen to other people, experts, and see through the BS of people who are just talking loud and flashy and saying provocative things versus people who can speak a simple truth and bring us together in a healthy way. This is a very, very interesting developmental experience and experiment that I think is going to affect children profoundly. And I think the adults, the Gen Xers and the millennials who have children right now need to pay attention to developmental issues very, very closely. Basic human psychology is being affected on a global level, but yet developmentally, we're still developing as fast or as slow as we did 400 years ago. So we need to watch really closely and carefully, because this is a doozy.
Yeah, I had a group with a bunch of kids the other day, and it got real, it got raw. I mean, we talked about what is going on in the world right now and how that affects them. And some of them got angry and some of them started tearing up. But after this sort of collective sigh and moment of silence, their question to me was, what do we do to change it? Like, how can we be the change makers? Um, I've done this work for many years as well, just like you have. And I haven't necessarily heard that from a group of collective teenagers saying, we want to be the change makers. What do we do? And I said, you tell me. And they started making posters about the things they can do to affect change in this world. Because the world is ripe for that right now, right? I mean, what a beautiful place in this world right now to have a youth grow up and see that when something's done peacefully, it can bring about change, and that they have a powerful piece to play in that.
Planet. Look, the truth is that we've been peppering the walls of their school hallways with posters that say we're all one, and racism is bad, and don't smoke, and recycle or the whales will die. Like, we have terrified these children into being desirous of taking action that we as adults have not all of us have been willing to take. So I think that the question now becomes, if we have a generation of children who are going to recognize the value in remaining physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and financially connected with the world, with a global consciousness, because we're all going to suffer something like COVID, like racism, like an alien invasion, then what does it mean for parents to raise a world changer? What are you going to do as a parent that gives birth to a child that can cure cancer? What are you going to model? Are you going to model fear living? Are you going to model and say, well, you know, I'm just going to remain on the couch drinking wine and binge watching because that's easier than facing the discomfort of having a hard conversation around the fact that I can't afford groceries and that I've lost my job and I don't know if my company's coming back to give me my job back when this is over, and I don't know if you're actually going to go back to school the way you've always gone to school. And like that's not going to do it. That's not going to scare your kid into being more evolved than you. That's going to train him to do exactly what you do. How do you step out of the fear parenting paradigm and say, if the change is going to happen, it starts right here in this house, and I'm going to show you how it's done. That's the only way I see that we're going to have any real change in this next generation. If the parents say, I'm terrified, but here I go. I'm going to make this work in my favor, for our benefit, so that the world grows. What other option do you have?
We didn't get a playbook for this pandemic, did we?
Not even the experts. The
No.
experts give it. Not the World Health Organizations, not the CDC. Everybody's going, holy crap, Everybody wear a mask. No, don't wear a mask. Yeah, wear a mask. And then stay inside. No, okay, you can go. No, 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 go back inside. Like, no one knows. So if you don't know, then what? Fight, flight, freeze, faint, feed, fornicate, fester, or
Forge ahead.
forge ahead, right? What's the 8F? Forge ahead, forward thinking, figure it out. That's the next one. Figure this out. I lost a lot of income during this experience. I have an entire company of my speaking business came to a halt. And it took me 3 days to start up 2 new projects to replace that income, because I'm not going to sit around and just watch a substantial portion of my livelihood change. And the question is not who's going to save me. It's going to, how am I going to fix this?
Right.
That's got to be your relationship to your physical body, your mental state, your financial well-being, your emotional. It's you. It starts with you. So figure it out. Let your kids see. Let them see you make a plan. Let them see you sit down and say, okay, this never changes. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's how I'm going to make money happen. Here's my hustle. Let the kids watch and get help if you don't know how to do that. For God's sake, get help.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not a bad movie for them to watch. You sitting back, reorganizing, refocusing, reimagining, reinventing yourself for your family. That's not a bad movie for them to watch.
They'll remember it for the rest of their lives, and then there'll be part 2.
Yeah, right, right.
So the parent that says, that all sounds good and fine, Aaron, that's a tall order. I'm wired differently than you. I don't have the bandwidth to even think about a friggin' hustle right now. Where do I even start?
Yeah. You start with your physical body, because it's obvious that the system's in dysfunction, right? If you can't function, then you have to deal with dysfunction. And blunt honesty is that's a therapeutic process. That's not a coaching rah motivation process. It's a therapeutic process. And maybe it's a physical therapy. Maybe it's you actually taking very small steps and a walk around the block and saying, are you breathing? Are you chewing your food? Are you drinking water? Are you going to bed at a reasonable time, or are you still on Facebook at 1 a.m.? Like you have to go to the absolute basics and find the dysfunction. Are you eating? Are you sleeping? Are you breathing? Are you drinking water? Like, if those 4 things are not in place, how's your financial life going to be? Of course, you can't make a decision if you haven't slept well. So what do you got to do differently? That's the therapeutic process. These tiny, small changes that take 80% of your time that are going to change 20% of your life. Right? It's the changes that over the next 30 days, you're doing one small thing today. I'm going to vacuum my office. That's it. And then I'm done because I can't figure this out. Great. Perfect idea. Go vacuum your office. Because after 30 days of doing one thing, and I cannot reiterate this enough, it doesn't matter how small that one thing is. You're in a therapeutic state. The small things make big changes, but they just have to add up. So do one small thing a day. Thursday, I'll take a shower. Friday, up until Friday, I'm going to eat the canned food, but on Friday, I'm cooking a home cooked meal. Great. Guess what? You've just planned a week, and that can be your one thing for today. Get back to the couch and go binge watch. You're okay.
Wow.
You did one thing. But after 30 days, that makes 30 things. And after a year, that's 365 small changes you've made to change your life. That's enough. So start with small things. Am I breathing on purpose? Did I drink 3 glasses of water? Tomorrow, I'll drink 4. And guess what? Now you've done 2 things today. You get to high five yourself and then call it quits for the day. Because if that's all you can handle, then handle the dysfunction. Slowly, small steps, and love yourself the whole way through. I know it's going to feel like it's not enough. It will be. It will be
Right.
enough.
It
Wow.
is. I mean, you and I have had many conversations about this. We were both brutally, for good or bad, honest with our kids as they were growing up, and now we're getting to see the effects of that in a
Yeah.
positive way. It doesn't go unnoticed. You're right. So you help families come together and build a contract for how things are going to look moving forward.
Yeah, I really love the idea of putting together a family behavior contract. When parents try to use behavior contracts on kids, it's just a new set of rules with a new set of consequences. It's never going to fly. A family behavior contract shows the kid that, hey, kiddo, we're all in recovery. And I don't mean recovery from drugs and alcohol, unless that's what we're talking about. And I don't mean mental health recovery, unless that's what we're talking about. I mean, our family's struggling and it's time for our family to recover. Stop making the struggle not something that you're experiencing. Patch Adams was one of my very first inspirations, influencers, and mentors. Dr. Patch Adams said, your grandmother doesn't have Alzheimer's, your family has Alzheimer's, and the whole family has to recover and heal and do the work, or grandma's never coming back. And what that taught me was that it's not enough to say, hey, kiddo, you need to make some changes.
Right.
What is enough is to say, family's struggling. We're all going through some stuff. Because if the kids are struggling, mom and dad are struggling. Because kids don't struggle if mom and dad aren't struggling. And I've got plenty of podcasts that can show you the evidence of epigenetics and family tree trauma, and just being around a parent who can't pay the bills will stress you the F out. Like that trickle down stress is gonna land on your kids. So family struggling, family goes into recovery, and that's the language we use. And so a family behavior contract is literally where everybody gets the little list of changes they're going to make. Dad's going to stop being angry because he's angry at his boss for laying everybody off. Dad's going to actually go deal with his anger so it doesn't come out on Johnny and Susie. And dad's gonna come out of the office in the middle of the day and make sure mom has enough time to focus on her business, and he's gonna spend time with the kids. And I say this because right now I just read a study that's showing mom and dads who are both at home with the kids, and how dads think that they're doing an equal amount of work at home, and then they go through the amount of hours they're spending with the kids and on the household projects and up, they're still doing they're 70% to the 100% that women are doing. So reevaluate your home contribution. Reevaluate to your emotions when you are contributing. Write up a list of changes you're going to make. Give the kid the space to do the same. Then allow everybody to have the conversation on what they would like the other people to change without judgment. Learn to listen. And then make an agreement that the family's going to start doing these changes. The next part is, here's the rewards we get if we're successful at these changes. And the next part is, here's the consequences if we don't do the hard work on making changes. Everybody gets rewards, and everybody gets consequences, and everybody gets to be accountable in public with this family. When the parents change, the home changes. When the home and the parents change, the child has to change. So you can't put the child's changes first. They actually come last, and that's appropriate and developmentally appropriate. So that's what is I know you guys have asked all of us as speakers and on your summit to step forward with a free gift for everybody. That's going to be mine, is that I have a workbook for creating a family behavior contract. You'll be able to find that at firemountainprograms.com/coaching. And you'll see the PDF link on that page. It's firemountainprograms.com/coaching. You'll see the button for the family behavior contract, the FBC contract, and you'll be able to download it there. All I'll need your email address so I can send it to you, and then we'll follow up with you to see how it went.
Yeah, thank you. I dropped my pen just as you were saying that. So I want to make sure people get this. I've seen this contract. It's very good. I've seen you coach people through the contract, and it's changed lives. It's changed the whole family system dynamic. So please go to the website, get the free download. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on our summit. I have a lot of respect for you. You're by far the best parenting coach I've ever had the honor of working with. So anything in closing you want to say?
Yeah, I just hope that one day I can learn as much from you as you've learned from me. I feel that there's an imbalance in the value we've exchanged. Look, Sherry, the work we've done together with parents and kids has forever affected how I will work with parents and children. And not just your dynamic presentation style, but your absolute understanding and willingness to accept the what is, regardless of the depth of crisis a family is going through. And that's what I learned from you that I want to leave parents with. We can't look at this situation that we're in and expect anything different from ourselves or our children other than what we're actually going through. You're doing exactly what you can do with the tools you had to work with. When you're working with summits and attending summits like this, you're going to get other tools. So understand that what happens next will either be something you create or something that the world creates for you. One of them is a conscious response and the other one is an unconscious response. I suggest you do the conscious one, which means acknowledge that what you're going through is actually legitimate, and then become conscious on the changes you've got to make. They're physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, and financial. And if you're still struggling to make those changes, back off into the one a day, where you're just going to change one tiny thing. Doesn't matter how small. You just do it consciously, and you do it every day. 30 days later, you'll see that the world's changed. So be okay with what's going on right now until you find yourself in the space that you can change it consciously. And it's hard work.
And it's worth it. Thank you.
Listeners, thank you so much for joining us today. Erin, it was an honor to have you on our summit. Thank you.